I'm going to start a little bit elevated with my hips up to create a little extra space for my lower back and my diaphragm. Just as we settle into this space, starting with a few deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Noticing how our bodies start to soften. The heart rate starts to slow. And our focus turns more to our breath and our physical sensations. Noticing the expansion of our ribs laterally. And where the breath enters the body. Perhaps we notice slight distractions in our minds or sensations of our bodies that we can let go of, like clouds in a blue sky. Not trying to change them or force them out, just allowing them to keep drifting by. Bringing our awareness back to the breath and the physical sensations. Maintaining our presence in this moment. Not trying to create a new state, but rather coming back to our original state of calm and inner strength by letting those distractions keep passing by. Perhaps using that as inspiration to create an intention for today's practice or an affirmation. And bringing our awareness back to the space around us, the smells, the sounds, and the temperature. We blink our eyes open. We remove a block if it was underneath our hips. If not, we'll grab onto our knees and we'll slowly do cats and cows in seated pose here, using our knees as leverage. Rolling our shoulder blades in and back, arching the lower back, lifting our chests. And then we'll round out, leading with the elbows, lowering our head, chin to chest. Inhale, we draw our chest through. Exhale, we round back out. Adding as much depth and range of motion as feels good. As we slowly start to warm into our spine. And our breath. Breathing in and out through the mouth, finding a meditative rhythm. Three more. And gently floating back to neutral. Rolling the shoulders up and back. We reset, tall torso, lifting our arms over our shoulder, big breath in. And we exhale, rotating, bringing one hand behind us, pressing the fingertips into the earth, holding here, looking over our shoulder. Creating space between the vertebra, space in our neck and upper back. And just checking in with the sensations of our bodies. One more breath here. And we'll reach our arms back up, coming to center, inhaling. And on the exhale, we hinge forward, bringing our hands to the earth, finding our block if we think we might like it to bring the earth closer. Perhaps we lower our forearms to the block, or our fists, or our hands. Noticing what's happening in the lower back and the hips. Allowing our head to hang heavy. And making sure that we haven't transferred any tension to our jaw. Just letting it go. Not pushing too far too fast. Checking in with the breath. Good. On the next inhale, we'll press ourselves up using our hands. Tall torso. And we'll circle around, bringing our hands back to our knees, slowly circling in one direction. Adding some lateral flexion into the sides of our bodies. Pushing against the knees, keeping our legs and our sit bones firmly connected to the earth below. Two more. And we meet back up in neutral, extending our legs in front of us, giving them a little wiggle. Ah. Lovely on the knees. And while we're here, we'll sweep our arms over our shoulders on the inhale. And on the exhale, we'll bring them to the outside of the leg, looking back. Inhale, we reach all the way back up. Exhale, opposite side, reaching and looking back. We'll continue this, inhaling up, lengthening the torso, and then hinging at the hips. Keeping our toes pointed to the sky, feet are flexed. Starting to create space in the back of our legs. Moving with the rhythm of our breath. And starting to move around some of our energy that might be sticky or blocked in some areas of our bodies. We'll go for two more on each side. Perhaps starting to notice the pause at the top and bottom of our breath, enjoying the yummy sensations, and creating a little headspace. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, forward folding, reaching towards our feet, Option to let the arms lower to the earth or to grab onto the feet or the shins. We're here for 8 more breaths. Noticing the breath expand our ribs. Breathing space into the back of our neck with our chin to our chest. Noticing the breath running all the way down the spine. Wrapping around the lower back, into the glutes, the back of the legs, and down through the toes. Three more breaths here. And then we'll slowly stack the vertebrae one at a time. Shoulders and head. And we come back into easy seated with the opposite foot in front. Probably the one that doesn't feel as natural, in case we forget. Good. Bringing our hands this time to the fronts of our foot. And we'll use our foot as leverage as we float through our butterfly cat-cows. On the breath in, we reach our chest through, drawing our shoulder blades in and down. And on the exhale, we round out into the spine, lowering our chin to chest. Inhale, reaching through, gentle arch of the spine. Exhale, we round, leading with the elbows, using the foot as leverage for extra depth and intensity to whatever range of motion feels good. Maintaining a calm, steady rhythm of breath in and out through the nose. For 3 more. And then we all meet up in neutral. Keeping our hands on our foot. And on the next inhale, we'll reach the arms up. We'll rotate to the opposite side. Once again, bringing one hand behind, one in front. Pressing the fingertips into the earth to expand the spine and the torso. Looking over our shoulder. Checking in with the sensations. Noticing any blocked tension. And breathing space into any areas of discomfort. Good. On the next inhale, we'll reach the arms all the way back up over our shoulders. Exhale, we'll hinge forward, bringing the hands to the earth. Once again, we can find our blocks to bring the earth a little closer. Maybe we're feeling a little warmer in our spine, our lower back, and our hips. Perhaps we can melt a little bit closer to the earth this time. Breathing in curiosity and fresh air. And exhaling any competition, judgment, or expectation. Appreciating the state of our body, appreciating the opportunity to move and to breathe new vitality into our bodies, new space, new lightness. 2 more breaths. And on the next inhale, we press ourselves back up, stacking the vertebrae, shoulders and head, bringing our hands back to our knees, and we'll circle around in the opposite direction. Once again, probably the direction that doesn't feel as intuitive. Creating space and awareness of what's happening in the sides of our bodies, the sides of our hips and our lower backs. Two more big circles. And we come to neutral. And we'll extend our legs wide on the mat this time, opening them up to the corners or the edges of the mat. We'll press ourselves forward with our hands, keeping our toes pointed to the sky. Once again, we have our blocks close by as needed. Finding a comfortable position, comfortably uncomfortable position here. We'll slowly start to warm into the inner thighs. Walking our hands forward, small steps forward with our hands while we keep our toes pointing to the sky, not letting the inner thighs collapse. We bring the floor closer to us as needed. And we're slowly going to melt in to the inner thighs, hinging into the hips, breathing through any discomfort, creating resilience in our minds, knowing that we won't be here forever, but that we will slowly melt a little bit closer with each exhalation as the body starts to trust and release tension that we might be holding. We're not forcing anything too far too fast. We can gauge this with our breath, checking in that it's calm and steady. Supporting our foreheads as feels comfortable. Checking in with our toes, are they still pointed to the sky? And perhaps we check in with our jaw, what's happening there? Have we transferred any energy there that we can let go of? We'll be here for 3 more breaths. And on the next inhale, we'll press ourselves back up, walking our hands in, celebrating any micro gains. And we'll bring the feet together, releasing at the knees. And grabbing onto the outer edges of the feet with our hands, tucking the heels in, tall torso, finding length, drawing the shoulder blades in and back. And then we can butterfly the legs. Good. Releasing out of that, coming into all fours. Gentle transition, grabbing a sip of water on the way, as needed. And then meeting up in all fours. Hands hands under our shoulders, knees under our hips. Head can hang heavy, and we'll slowly start to sway left to right. Expanding that lateral flexion from the armpit all the way through to the knee. Checking for any areas of tightness, any patterns of tension that we might feel. Two more breaths here. Good. Coming back to neutral. We'll bring our blocks underneath our hands if we have to. If not, no blocks. We're going to press into our cat-cow, pressing into the shoulder blades, letting the head hang heavy. And on the inhale, leading with the tailbone, we slowly start to arch the lower back, drawing our elbows forward, lifting our chest and our gaze. Exhale, we round out, leading with the tailbone again, looking back towards our feet, drawing the navel back through the spine. Inhaling, arching and lifting, opening the abdomen. And exhale, we curl back in, looking towards the feet. Pressing into the shoulder blades. Flowing through this. 3 more times. Elongating our breath. Perhaps we notice the gentle pause at the bottom and the top. Coming back to neutral. Now we'll curl our toes underneath our shins and we'll lift our hips into down dog, keeping our hands either on the mat or on the blocks. Pressing the heels back towards the earth, creating a little extra space in the arms and the chest, letting our heads hang heavy between the arms. Calm, steady rhythm of breath as we create length in the back body, releasing tension in the back of the legs. So 2 more breaths. We'll slowly lower our knees back to the earth in all fours. And we'll bring our elbows down onto the blocks or our mat. We're coming into a puppy pose here. So bringing our elbows down, we'll walk our knees back and slowly start to open our chest, bringing our hands behind our head, allowing the head to hang between the arms, between the blocks, elevating as possible to create a little extra space in our chest and the back of our arms and shoulders. Maybe even feeling this down the triceps. Maybe we lift our blocks a little higher if we feel that our body could use a little extra depth to the stretch. Doing what feels good for our body today in this moment. And we're creating a little extra traction in the back, the spine, allowing the spine to appreciate gravity taking hold, benefiting from the inversion without too much effort. Calm, steady rhythm of breath. 2 more breaths here. And we'll press our elbows in to the mat or into our blocks to lift ourselves back up. We'll push our blocks to the side momentarily. We'll walk ourselves all the way into prone pose. Good. Bringing the left arm in front of the right. We'll walk our hands out to the edges of the mat. And then let our chin fall over the top arm. This might be intense, so perhaps we ease our chin down nice and gentle. Once again, with each exhalation, we notice the release of tension as our body settles into the pose, trusting that we're not pushing too far, too fast. Noticing the slowing of our breath, and the steady rhythm in and out through the nose. Noticing any distractions, thoughts that might come into our minds that we allow to continue to float through. For 2 more breaths. And we'll slowly come out of that, bringing our hands under, our elbows underneath our chest. The hands are firmly planted on the mat ahead of us. We're in Sphinx pose. And on the inhale, we'll lift our torso, lifting our abdomen off the earth. Breathing length into the spine. Perhaps we draw the breath all the way through to the lower back. For 3 more breaths. And we lower all the way back down, bringing the right arm this time over the left, walking the hands outwards, and then slowly allowing the chin to fall over the top arm. Calm, steady rhythm of breath. Noticing how the sensations change. Noticing different sensations on this side as opposed to the other. And again, celebrating any releases of tension and micro gains in our flexibility. Two more breaths here. We'll slowly unwind out of that, bringing our hands this time under our chest, pressing into a cobra, gently lifting and peeling the chest and the abdomen off the earth, letting go of tension in our lower back and glutes, breathing space into our abdomen and lower back. 2 more breaths. And we release, coming all the way back to the earth, keeping our hands under our chest, curling our toes underneath our shins, bringing our feet together, pressing up into a kneeling plank. Back into all fours. We'll step up into down dog, curling our toes, lifting our hips, and gently pressing the heels back towards the earth. Maybe feeling some different sensations in this down dog than we did in the last. Breathing awareness into any areas of discomfort. Letting our heads hang heavy and noticing the softness in our faces and our jaws. We'll float through a series of low lunges and hamstring stretches. So lifting our left foot off the earth. Driving our heel of the right foot into the mat. Slight shift of our weight. And we'll slowly float our way forward, stepping through with our left foot, gazing forward, coming up on the toes of the left foot, bringing the left foot all the way through, lowering the right knee, finding our blocks. Perhaps we start at the highest setting. Finding stability here, and then we'll slowly hinge forward, opening up our hip flexor of the right leg, and elongating the torso, drawing the shoulders back. Using the blocks as support on one side or the other. We're not sinking too far too fast. We're noticing how the hips start to shift and open. Maintaining softness in our faces and jaws. And length in our torso. Three more breaths. Good, and we're going to press ourselves back. The hips go back. We extend our front foot out, lifting the toe, keeping our hips stacked over the knee, and we hinge over top of the extended leg, using the block still as support. Breathing space into the back of the left leg. Maintaining our calm, steady rhythm of breath and softness in our upper body. Pressing ourselves back up, back into our low lunge. Hinging forward. This time lifting our inside arm over our shoulder if it feels accessible. Once again, we have our opposite arm supported on our block. Melting our hips towards the earth. Slow and steady. Good. Bringing our hips back up and towards the heel. Extending our left foot, extending our left leg. Once again, finding length in our torso. Deep breaths in, and then we hinge over the leg. Perhaps we lower the blocks at this point if that feels good. Again, no expectation or competition. We do what feels good for our body in this moment. The more we practice on the mat, the more accessible these tools are to us in everyday lives. Choosing to let distractions pass, choosing to do what's best for us, and to let go of things that don't serve us. And on the next inhale, we'll press ourselves back up, back into our low lunge at whatever height suits us for our blocks. Finding stability, allowing the inner hip flexor to open. And perhaps this time we reach our right arm up and across, parallel to the floor, reaching it across the left knee. Again, if that feels good. If you feel that you might benefit from it, fabulous. All the while focusing on our hips and the hip flexor of the right leg. Good. Inhale, coming back to center. Exhale, we shift our hips back again, lifting the toes of the left foot, extending the leg. Tall torso on the inhale. Exhale, we hinge forward. Once again, perhaps we flatten our blocks again. A little bit lower, closer to the earth. Maintaining length in our spine as we hinge over our extended leg, creating space. Feeling releases of tension and micro gains of flexibility. And one more time, we're going to float forward back into our low lunge. And option to float the right arm over the shoulder and come into a side bend. Over the left, reaching over the ear. Maintaining a calm, steady rhythm of balance or coming out of it. Good. Releasing the right arm back down. Coming back up. Lifting our back leg up. Maybe stacking the blocks a little higher to start. We're coming up into a high lunge here. Finding stability. And we'll rotate, pressing our right hand into the block that's on the inside of our legs, and we'll lift our left arm all the way up. Option to do this with our right knee on the earth, whatever feels good for us. Gentle rotation, reaching the left arm up, feeling what's happening in the outside of the left hip and the lower back. Gentle, steady rhythm of breath. And we'll lower our hand, straightening the front leg, pyramid pose here, pressing into the blocks, elongating the spine. Noticing what's happening in our jaw, our neck. Hopefully we're not transferring tension. Good. Coming into our lunge again. And back into pyramid. This time rotating, so opening again our left arm if that feels accessible. We can always flatten our back foot. Noticing what's happening now all the way down through the outside of the left leg into the knee. Calm and steady. Releasing out of that. Coming back into our lunge. And we're going to lift our arms off the earth. Crescent lunge here. Pressing into the hip flexor, lifting our arms. Calm, steady rhythm of breath. Warrior one, pivoting the back foot, planting it, continuing to reach the arms up. Finding length in the sides of our body. And warrior two, lowering the arms parallel to the floor. Actively drawing the left knee back, noticing the stretch of the inner thigh. Good, straightening the front leg. And let's come into a side angle here, reaching our right arm up over our body, letting the left arm float down the leg or find a block. Using our leg and blocks as support. And bringing our right arm all the way back down. Good. Pivoting our back foot so that we have stability here. Back into our pyramid. Noticing what's happening in the back of the left leg. Excellent. Bringing our right knee to the earth. We'll step our right leg back into all fours. Pressing our blocks away. And go ahead and circle or shift left to right in all fours. Rinsing that out before we repeat the sequence on the other side. Coming back to neutral. Curling our toes under our shins, lifting our hips up, down dog. Pressing both of the heels towards the earth, noticing what's happening on each side of the body now that we've worked through some tension in our left leg and our right hip flexor. Letting our right leg float off the earth, shifting our weight into the left side. Holding here for 3 more breaths. Gazing forward, coming up on the toes of the left foot, stepping all the way through, right foot and left knee come down, finding our blocks. Perhaps again we start high and we'll float our hips forward. And then we elongate the torso, releasing tension in our shoulders and our jaw, gazing forward. Slowly letting our hips melt towards the earth. Noticing sensations in our abdomen, the hip flexor, the knee, the lower back, all those yummy connections. And we'll float our hips back, extending our front leg, lifting the toes off the earth. Elongating the torso, deep breath in, and we hinge over that leg, slow and steady. Not forcing anything, appreciating where we're at. And just taking the opportunity to breathe space and lightness into the back of the right leg. Good, floating forward again. Flattening the front foot, shifting the hips. Option here to float the left arm over the left shoulder. Again, using the blocks as support, not pushing too far, too fast, allowing the left hip flexor to melt slowly. Remembering that we hold a lot of emotion in our hip flexors and the psoas. We don't want to poke them, trigger them to release too quickly. Good. Releasing our left arm, pressing our hips back, and extending our front leg. Maybe we choose to flatten the blocks a bit if we're feeling like we're melting a bit closer to the earth. Keeping our toes pointed to the sky, and lengthen our spine. Noticing our calm, steady rhythm of breath, distractions that might come into our minds, coming back to the breath and the physical. Shifting our hips forward back into our low lunge. And this time we have the option to float our arm up and across the right knee, finding stability. And if it feels accessible to us, we go there. Gentle rotation of the spine. Maybe we gaze back towards our foot, focusing on the pattern that we feel between our left knee, our left shoulder, down the left arm. Creating lightness and space to break up any patterns of tension. Coming out of that, we push our hips back one more time. Extending our front leg, lifting the toes, elongating the spine, deep breath in, and we hinge over. Noticing space we're creating in the back of the right leg, in through the lower back. Micro changes in the sensations that we might be feeling while maintaining a calm, steady rhythm of breath. Two more breaths. And we'll push ourselves forward one last time. This time with the option to lift our left arm over the shoulder and to come into a gentle side bend. Once again, using our block for support, only floating into poses that suit us in this moment. We don't force our body into the pose. Smiles on our faces, ensuring that we're not holding tension in our jaw. Good. Come on out of that. And we'll lift our left knee off the earth, curling the toes under the shins, finding our way into a crescent lunge, still supporting ourselves. Finding our stability here, looseness in our shoulders, good. And we'll straighten the front leg. Oh, pyramid pose, yay for that. Pressing into the blocks, ensuring a tall torso. And option to float the right arm up, rotating our pyramid, Slow and steady, shifting the focus of our attention and breath into the right hip. Good, floating our arm back down, back into our lunge. Pivoting our back foot, flattening it, and then we'll straighten our front leg again. Finding a bit more stability here, pressing the earth away, using our blocks. Maybe we keep them high, maybe we lower them, maintaining a tall torso. Hinging over the front leg. And once again, we have the option to rotate, opening our right side, checking in with the hip, the IT band, all the sensations that we might be feeling from the spine, down the right side of the leg, into the knee, maybe into the ankle. Gentle rotation here. Calm, steady rhythm of breath. Now we release out of that, coming back into our lunge, crescent lunge this time, coming back up on the toes. And when we find our stability, we can lift our arms over our shoulders, reaching tall, creating that length in the sides of our body. Soft expression on our faces. Warrior one, pivoting the back foot, flattening it, resetting. Floating arms down parallel to the floor, opening warrior two, actively pressing the right knee back, opening the inner thigh. The hips are tucked under us, the glutes are engaged. And we'll straighten the front leg. Come into our angle, triangle pose here, reaching the left arm over top of our body, allowing the right hand to float down or to connect with the block. Three more breaths. Good. Bringing the left arm all the way back down. We pivot back. Triangle pose one last time. Noticing the length and space that we're creating. And we'll lower ourselves down, coming back into all fours. Moving the blocks aside, shifting the weight left to right, rinsing that out. And we'll slowly come all the way back down to the earth, shifting into a supported bridge pose with one block underneath us. The feet will be hip width apart. I'm going to keep my block lengthwise and at its medium height. And I'm bringing it underneath my sacrum. Slowly lowering ourselves down, finding a supported bridge pose that suits us. Walking our feet wide on the mat, feeling the contact of our shoulder blades, the back of our arms and head on the earth. We'll bring our left knee in to hug it. Option to wrap the hands around the shin to draw the knee towards us. Holding here for a few breaths. And then we'll extend the left foot, extending the left leg all the way up. Driving the heel into the sky. Finding calm, steady balance of our hips. And then with great control of our abdomen, we'll slowly lower the left leg in its straight state, bringing the heel towards the earth, and then allowing it to connect. Resetting here. Noticing the shift of the weight of our hips. And then we'll repeat with the opposite side, so drawing the right knee into our chest, option to bring the hands onto the shin, hugging it in. Slow movements, maintaining our balance and presence in the moment. And then we'll straighten the leg, driving the heel up. Flexing the foot, finding straightness of the leg wherever it might be. No competition. Doesn't have to be in a specific place above our hips or our chest. And when we're ready, we can slowly start to lower the right leg until it makes contact with the earth, keeping it straight with a flexed foot. Slow and steady. Resetting here, finding our new balance with our sacrum on top of the block. Our legs are allowed to just fall open. Noticing the contact our bodies make on the earth below. Option to stay here. Option to bring the feet together with the bottoms of the feet connecting in a butterfly pose. Whatever feels best in this moment, try both, choose one, and of course we have the option to remove the blocking to come all the way back down to the earth. Bringing our awareness to the breath, the gentle softness of our faces, and running through a body scan from head to toe, noticing sensations that we might be feeling through the neck, into the shoulders, the collarbones, down the arms, into the upper back, mid and low back, down the front of the body, the chest, the abdomen, the hips, and making our way down through our legs, front and back, knees, shins and calves, ankles, feet, front and back, and toes. option to release out of this, bringing the knees together, removing the block, lifting our hips. And hugging our knees all the way in. Maybe we draw our heads up, chin to chest. Noticing any new sensations in our hips from the opening pose that we chose. And moving through any final movements that might feel good for our body, that our body might be craving. Taking the time we need to allow the practice to imprint. Perhaps we reflect on any intention that we may have set at the beginning of our practice, or an affirmation that helped to guide us through our practice today. Celebrating the time that we spent for ourselves to create lightness and space in our bodies and minds. Perhaps celebrating being able to allow distractions to float by, focusing on the moment. And whenever you're ready, we can roll up into little balls, pressing ourselves back to the space around us with our new energy and lightness, perhaps floaty zen. Taking our light with us into our communities. And remembering the feeling that we have in this moment that we can always reflect on and come back to in times of need. With smiles on our faces, we give thanks for the opportunity to practice. Thanks for this community. And trust that we are exactly where we're supposed to be. Thank you for joining. Namaste.